Hi guys, welcome back to Soul Revival. I'm your host Sade, and today I've got a very big episode for you. So I will start it by saying this is the second time I've recorded it. I realized I wanted to polish it up a bit and give you some less details because of the topic. So here we are today again. Thank you so much for coming back, and let's get right into it. I am going to start the episode with the trigger warning. We will be talking about, well, you've been warned. We're going to be talking about childhood sexual abuse. And I won't go too much into details, but I just want to put it out there. If you don't feel comfortable talking or hearing about this right now, I'd say pause the video and come back when you feel a bit more comfortable. I'm going to be sharing my personal story and how I've managed to heal, and I am now living my best life. And it's been a journey, but I really wanted to talk about it with you guys because it is going to help, hopefully, sharing my story. A lot of other people that have gone through similar scenarios, and I just want people that have gone through certain things to know that life does get better, and it can take a lot of work to heal certain things, but definitely your life is worth living. And coming out of the darker times of my life, I'm so happy that I've spent the time doing this inner work. So I just want to share my story with you guys today, and then go from there. This is going to be our part 2 video. So today in particular, we're going to be talking about my experience and how I've healed it. And I've kind of come up with a little structured healing package that I think really helps. And I'll talk about it more later on in the episode, which comes down to healing the physical, the spiritual, and the mental side of things. You can apply this to any sort of trauma, but I'm using this in particular to sexual types of trauma. And in the first part of the episode, I'm going to be talking about my story and how I've healed it. Then we're going to be looking at the actual step-by-step that you guys can do as well if you've experienced something similar, or you just need a tool to keep in handy. And then in the second part of the episode, I'm going to be talking more about the actual topic in part 2, which will be a separate episode. I'm going to be talking about the topic itself of sexual abuse and childhood sexual abuse as well. I'm going to be talking about ways that you can't not really prevent it, but you can raise education, awareness, and also see certain warning signs and how to support best. And we'll go from there. Maybe I'll do also a EFT exercise or meditation exercise in the second part of the video. But for now, you have been warned. I just also want to state that I'm okay. I feel great. So I am in a place now where I feel comfortable sharing it socially. Some of the people around me already know. It's mainly the closer friends or family now. But there's a few people I don't want to know, so I understand that me publicly creating a video where I'm going to be talking about it could be counterproductive, but I know it is part of my journey to share my story and help others with what I've learned so far. So please do not send this to my dad or my grandparents on my dad's side, because I'm not ready for that topic yet with them. The rest of my mum's side family and my uncles and aunties, I've had this conversation with them and my brother, but other people, no. So yes, sorry, I'm laughing because this is how I deal with more stressful situations, I guess, and more vulnerable topics. I've just gotten to a point where I laugh as an energy release. So yeah, but I'm gonna keep it as light as possible, but also as informative and helpful for you. So let's get into this. Today I'm going to tell you the story that ended up changing my life forever. It was the summer of 2009, and that's when my light-hearted, youthful little girl self. Got awakened to the cruel world. Let's just say it that way. I'm not gonna censor. I'm gonna censor some details. You don't need to know exactly what happened, but I'm not gonna censor who the person was. Like, they're lucky enough that I didn't do anything legally, and this person's dead now. So yeah, I don't need to protect them or their safety or their identity. So in summer of 2009, I went on a holiday with my family, and I would always go with my mom, my brother, my grandparents on my mom's side, my Italian family. And this particular summer was a summer that I guess one person took particular interest in me, and I was sexually abused for a few times throughout this trip, and when I later was then in Italy around this person. And this person is my Italian granddad. So not the one that I always share my stories that I love, my Nigerian one. It's the one on my mom's side. And yeah, so it happened a few times. You guys don't need to know the details, but what I'm trying to say with this, it was a stressful situation that was not just one event, it was multiple events that lasted about probably a few months, which ended up creating a ripple of physical health effects, mental effects, consequences, sorry, not effects. It's not a special effect. Mental consequences, physical problems, throughout my life. So this is what we call complex PTSD. So it's post-traumatic stress disorder that is connected to not just one traumatic event, but a multiple series of events which cause you to be in this state of traumatic stress for long periods of times. And they've shown the physical impacts of it being multiple events as opposed to one, which is not any better, but I'm just saying. Anyway, that's what I was trying to explain when I said multiple times. And yeah, so this is the story, and it feels good to get it off my chest. This is the second time me recording the episode. The first time was a lot more emotional, which is why I wanted to re-record it, because I still want to keep some of my privacy in this, and as much as I want to show my vulnerability, maybe I'm not ready there yet to see me break down when I'm talking about it. So this is my choice. Yeah, so this ended up causing a lot of issues. So if we start from the health side of things, after that summer, it's like my body froze. Everything stopped functioning. My metabolism, my growth. Well, my growth did a lot. Like my boobs grew so much after this. But yeah, when you have certain types of big traumas, your body might not function in certain ways, or it may develop as a consequence autoimmune diseases. And for example, I developed around that time hypothyroidism. I tripled in size, in weight. I used to be very skinny, and with the span of like 3 months, after that happened, between eating a bit more from the stress and also just my metabolism stopping, I did gain a lot of weight, which was water weight and bloatedness. Like my face was so puffy, my eyes were squished in my face. Other issues were my personality had changed. I turned super dark. I seemed angry all the time. I came across as rude to family members. aka my granddad, for example, which now is justified, but just so you guys have an idea, nobody knew until my family, nobody in my family knew until 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And then my like friends or strangers I would meet maybe have known since I was 16 to 18, and at the time I would have been 11. Yeah, I would have been 11 when all of this happened. So yeah, there was a lot of mental issues that started and were connected, but it didn't really get bad until one summer I went on a holiday and I met a girl. She was 13 and I think I was around the same age. She was 11. She was 11. So she was the age that I was at the time, but I was 13. And I met this girl and she was about to hook up with sleep with this kid that she had just met that was maybe 12 or 13. And I said, oh my God, are you going to lose your virginity? Like, you've just met him. And she said, it's okay. I've been sexually assaulted. She said differently, but I'm just going to keep it as clean as possible. Since I was 8 by my brother. And that, I think, was the turning point to my mental health. That's when I realized what was happening to me was bad, because I knew there was something off, and I knew that it was something I was not allowed to talk about, and I knew that maybe it shouldn't have happened, but I didn't realize to what extent it was, because I'd shut all of my feelings off. I had shut any of my emotions to keep my own sanity and safety. And so I didn't even realize that I was upset about this happening. I guess I just accepted it. And when this girl told me this, I was like, I just started instantly crying. I was so furious. I was so angry at her family, because her family knew, but they didn't want to do anything to keep the peace. And she is having to live still with the brother. And this is when the start of my mental health problems, like serious depression, serious anxiety started. Because when you're aware of a trauma, it becomes a trauma. If you're not aware of it as being bad or being harmful, of being a trauma, and I say bad because I don't want to give it a bad connotation to myself, because I don't want to feel like I'm bad because I went through that, or that I am dirty because I went through that. And that's something else that I've had to learn, that it wasn't my fault and it's not anything that I did wrong. Which can seem obvious if you've not experienced it, but when you experience certain things, it's a different topic. It's a different conversation. Anyway, so yeah, that summer when I met that girl, I don't know if honestly, I don't even know if she's still here with us. She was somebody, we really clicked, and I know that she was somebody suffering a lot. I forgot her name, forgot all her contact details, so I can't really reach out, but it would be, if one day we bump into each other again, I do want to say thank you, because it's the start of the downhill slope, but it's also the start of me acknowledging things and knowing that it was a problem. So yeah. And then this experience in particular, I want to talk about how it impacted my view of the world and my place in the world, because after this event, life was so hard. Especially after becoming aware of it, life was so hard. I just had constantly this physical rock shield around me of not being able to trust anyone, because when it happens in your family, especially at your developmental stages of your life, when you're learning how to trust people, you're learning how relationships work. If this happens with somebody that you're meant to be trusting and it's your blood, like your family, then you don't understand how relationships work, and you grow with a lack of perspective on boundaries, and especially if it's not something that has been dealt with as a child, and so you grow learning to having to defend yourself. it's manifested to me in, for example, having unhealthy relationships of either codependency or me allowing people to have full access to my body whenever, however, not even just people that I was dating. I mean, more even like more casual relationships. If somebody had an interest in me and I felt like I just didn't realize you could say no, and you didn't have to have sexual experiences with somebody that maybe you're not fully sure of. And I think sometimes, and this a few people will relate to, sometimes I just did it to get it over with and not have to hear somebody like try and keep trying and keep trying. And it's been a journey of now understanding how this has impacted me and understanding what boundaries are. And yeah it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. The other one, I've never felt stable and grounded in a place. For example, this happening in Italy and me being split between my mum and my dad lives in the UK, my mum in Italy. I saw London then as my safe haven and the place I needed to be. So I fully blocked out Italy. I would literally just go back for school. I hated it anyway. And I just always have this strong feeling of I cannot be safe as soon as I walk into this country because this happened and because I'm around this person is physically in the country. Now that they're not here anymore, I've gone back a few times and it felt so healing. It felt so healing to be able to walk in the town that I grew up, like mentally free, that nothing was gonna happen. And it just made me like really love London and really love anywhere else but there. And so I moved as soon as I finished high school when I was 19. I moved to Australia like a couple of years later. I moved straight away to London after school. Then after London, I moved to Australia for like 4 years. And now I've just moved back to London from Australia six is almost 9 months ago. In October it was. So yeah, this experience has fully made me feel like I can't settle down because I'm always having to escape and run away and find a place where I'm safe. And the biggest lesson that I've learned the past year is I'm safe within me and I'm my own home. And I've just needed to relearn how to create a place where I can just be me and put my walls down because I don't need the walls down. And if anything were to ever happen or if I'm in a dangerous situation, that's when I'll come across it and go for it. Then I don't need to constantly be in fight or flight or escaping or moving country or like trying to find a home somewhere, trying to find this sense of belonging, when the sense of belonging, I just need to learn how to re-belong to myself. And I think when you go through certain experiences where your boundaries have been crossed and your personal body has been touched without your consent and without you wanting it, it feels like a part of you has been taken from you and it feels like you don't own your own body. And I think, one of the biggest healing aspects of this that I've come across, especially, I started like a celibacy journey after I broke up with my ex in 2022, I think. I did break it when I was in Vietnam, but, sometimes you may fall for somebody. But yeah, it was officially last week, maybe a full year without having any physical contact in any romantic way with a man or like anyone actually. And it's been so interesting and like revolutionary to be able to be the one controlling your body and controlling that who allows to have access to it. And if it's not something that you learn growing up, it is something that is not obvious. And even like I've gone on dates this year, I'm not going to say never dated anyone, but if I didn't want them to put their hand on my back when I've just met them and I don't know who they really are, like there's no need for you to touch my back. I could just say, it's not something uncomfortable until I get to know you more. Or like getting along with somebody and being able to go on like multiple dates without having to feel like I had to do anything physical. And the person would just know me, want to get to know me for who I was. And it's blew my mind. Anyway, yeah, this comes from, I think we've seen now in society how women are very vulnerable, and the majority of a lot of the violence towards women has a sexual nature. And I was reading the other day an article of the stats in the UK, and I think it's 3/4 out of 1 million men that they were like looking at all the stats. 750,000 was involved in some sort of, like 750,000, I need to say that a bit louder, 750,000 men involved in some sort of activity and showed interest in childhood, like in children. And I was like, sorry, but I'm not going to say the entity name, but this entity that's meant to protect us has the knowledge of all of this going on, but yet they focus so much more on, I don't know, like terrorism or other stuff like that, which, yes, we need to be protective of that, but also, can you protect women and kids, please? Because we have the stats. Clearly this is a big issue. Why are we not doing anything more about it? Anyway, enough with my rant. I wanna talk about the pivoting moment for me to when life started feeling like life again, and when I started healing. And I want to go through what my journey looked like, because honestly, it's not been easy. It's been a roller coaster. It's been extremely hard. And in this particular moment, I made a promise to myself, I'm going to stick with this, and I'm going to like be my biggest supporter and go through this. Because let me tell you one thing. It is your responsibility to heal anything that life throws at you. And I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Like, I get it. But it is your duty to heal yourself and take care of yourself. Because if you don't heal what's been hurt, you'll hurt other people. And if that's the way that you want to live, that's fine. But I truly, truly, truly cannot stress. Like, this is one of the biggest things that sometimes maybe I'm too hard on myself and hard to judge on others. But like, please, if you've gone through stuff that has hurt you, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's you have some sort of unhealthy family dynamic or environmental, or some sort of trauma, or something that you can tell deep down that it has impacted your whole view and your whole place in this world, please do the work. It's not easy, but we have so many resources nowadays. And I think as a collective, we are all here to help the world be a better place. And I truly think the only way you can do this is by doing your inner work and by you becoming a healed person. And obviously the work never ends. Like, sometimes I get cocky and I think, oh, I'm done. But no, there's something will pop up, or something from the past. Like, I had a big dream today that was revolutionary. Something from the past will come up to the surface to be healed. But I always say this, once you do it once, you do a big, deep cleanse and work session that can last a few years, where you go deep, 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 and you dig everything out from the ground. Then you can really, really, really learn how to understand the ways that you need to heal and the way that you need to like process things and work on certain stuff. And then that's pretty much it, because you've learned how it works for you. And then you just keep, whenever something pops up, you just keep processing it, understanding it, acknowledging it, accepting it, sitting with the feelings. And just after that, like, it's a lot easier, but you do really need to do the big work and just get down with it. And So if you're watching this now and you have something in your heart that you haven't, you know that it's buried in your mind, or you know that you have some feelings you've been neglecting, this is your sign to go and do that work. Because yeah, and if you do that work and you meet me and you tell me, I've done the work, Sade, I've sat with it, then let's go and get pizza together. We can celebrate and cheers and cry together. But yeah, so the pivotal moment in my healing journey was in December 2019, when I moved to Australia to be with this boy that I met a few months before when I was living in Melbourne. I was living in Melbourne to study photography and Photoshop for a few months, then travel photography. And then at the end of my trip, I met this person, and instantly it was the first time that I felt this way for somebody. And I just saw him, he saw me from across the club, and in my eyes it was like love at first sight. And we just spent the whole evening like at the club just talking, and then nothing happened. We met up a few days later, and after that I was like, oh my god, I'm so in love. And then I went back, I think a week or 2 weeks later, I had to go back to the UK. And I thought, oh my God, like, I want to be with this person. And I thought at the time that he felt the same way. I was a bit naive to how men are. When they can say one thing but actually not really mean it. I've learned now after, moving across the world for somebody twice. But yes, I decided to go back to Australia and just give it a go. Like, I hadn't felt that way for so long. In retrospect now, I do believe that I just needed to be in Australia, so the universe sent me like a cute blonde boy, for me to take the leap and just go to the country. So I ended up going back in December, and I flew to Sydney and went to see him the next day in Melbourne. And we had a few nice days. But obviously, because of all of the stuff that I had gone through from my childhood, none of that was healed. All of it was repressed. So I was crazy and a psycho, but also not really. Like, I was also great as a girl to date, but I just had a lot of stuff that was repressed. And so my emotions, I didn't really understand my emotion. I didn't understand my feelings. I had a very anxious attachment style. So I think we just had an argument that weekend, and it turned into this person like ghosted me. So I guess I had to fly back to Sydney, and I never heard from this person again for a year, and that broke my heart. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, surely we can have arguments so we can just talk about it. But yeah, anyway, I got back to Sydney, and I remember I was staying in a hostel near Circular Quay, and I was screaming, crying in my room. It was empty, don't worry. Like, on the floor, so heartbroken. I don't think I've ever been that heartbroken before. And like, especially for me to up and leave my life to go and be with somebody that I thought wanted to be with me as well. It was devastating. And I think that was the light bulb moment in me. I said, I don't ever want to feel like this again for a man. Like, why are they taking from me and hurting me? And like, I'm so tired of this. I remember I was screaming in frustration in this teddy bear. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, what is it with these men that are taking and taking and taking and taking from me and hurting me? Why am I crying once again for somebody else? Like, I am so done. I'm just gonna put myself first. Like, this is ridiculous. And I remember I was so angry. So what I just started doing after that, I said, never again, I'm gonna let somebody make me feel like this. Me. They should be so lucky to ever have a chance in me. And after that, I started going to the gym. For the first time ever in my life, like actually going to the gym, because I was unhappy with how I felt as well. I was yeah, anyway, I started boxing, which was amazing. I had so much anger in me. I was literally imagining punching this guy because it just hurt me so much because I think he was one of the first guys that I was very vulnerable with, and he's the first guy that actually told about what this had what happened to me, and it was why that yeah, anyway, we just had a nice yeah. So I was just punching this boxing bag, just thinking like, fuck you, blah, 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 blah. And I was just punching every single thing that had upset me up until that point. And I had a personal trainer at the time, and I told him, I was like, this is what I'm going through right now. And I got so obsessed with the gym that my body looked amazing. I felt great. And that's when I realized this is not therapy. I realized, yeah, I've got abs for the first time ever. My mind is fucked. And I realized, like, I don't know how to cope right now. I had a month in January where I was so depressed. Like, I would literally just leave my room to go to the gym. And then I was developing like eating problems again. I was under eating. I would either drink alcohol on a Friday instead of eating full day. Like it was getting intense again. I thought, why? I look great. Like I'm getting better now. And then I said, okay, maybe now it's time for me to do therapy. And I went to this restaurant in Newtown where they used to do like events, or it's like they used to do events, and there was this girl that was hosting an EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques workshop, and I joined that, and I've lost my earring. Cool. And I joined that, and that changed my life. It was a workshop explaining how EFT works, and then she also offered a 6-session, 12-week package, and after understanding a bit of the concept of it, I was sold. I said, yeah, sign me up. I think I only had maybe double the amount of that therapy in my bank account, as I just moved like a month before to Australia. It was very fresh and I didn't have much saved up. And yes, I decided to do this. I said, let's do this. Clearly boxing is not enough. I need to do therapy. I don't want to see a therapist and sit down on a couch explaining my problems. I want something that would help. And EFT made it seem like it was something that would create a long-lasting change. So I sat down. I sat down with her in my first session, and going back for a second, one sec. One of the biggest issues connected to this experience that I had, because my granddad used to be taller than me, I would have the worst panic attacks whenever, or like my body was so anxious and tight, I would need to poop myself straight away whenever people were taller than me. And I would have like breathing issues. A lot of the times by the time I got to school, I was in the toilet, like trying to breathe and crying. And it happened almost every day, sometimes in the last maybe couple of years of one of my particular high schools. So maybe up until I was 16, this happened almost every day or every other day that I would get to school and like have to hide in the bathroom and try to get my breathing back and cry. And yeah, so I had this friend when I was in Australia that was 6'3", and yeah, we got along, but something about her just really triggered me, and it was the height. And so even if we did get along, my body was constantly on edge, and I was always stressed around her. And even when she hugged me, I'd feel like, like I tried so much, but it was something that I didn't fully understand where it was coming from. So I told my therapist, that was the first thing I said. I said, look, this happened to me, and I have a tall friend and I need to be able to hug her because this is ridiculous. If not, I don't think our friendship can continue, because it's actually having a big impact on my physical health. Like I was just way too anxious and too stressed to continue. And we just argue all the time because she would get on my nerves because of this thing happening in my subconscious. And even other people that were taller than me, I would just not feel safe around them. So we did a tapping round after we talked a bit. We did a tapping round, clearing this memory in particular that I had of me being against the wall and not being able to escape because the person was just there. And after clearing this, instantly, I've been able to be around taller people and feel safe. So what EFT does is when you're tapping in specific pressure points, it stops the production of cortisol and adrenaline in your body, which means that, yeah, like the particular thought or event may kind of still mentally remind you of a specific memory, but it doesn't create the physical reaction and fight or flight response as if you're still reliving it, which was, honestly, this was a life-changing discovery. And we ended up doing 6 sessions over the next 12 weeks. And it was like, I'm so grateful for her, because this was mind-blowing how impactful it was for me, and how, like, I felt like there was finally a light at some point at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not gonna lie, most of my teenagerhood I spent not wanting to be here the next day. And yeah, I'm so grateful to this girl. She was awesome. And I don't know what she's gone through, but to be a person like that, she's probably gone through a lot. So I just want to say thank you as well for healing, because you were incredible. Yeah, and this was, I think, these first few months of like 2020 and end of 2019 were the turning point for me. After that, I took it in stages. I went for like maybe periods of times where I was smoking lemongrass every day, drinking maybe a bottle of wine every day to, counteract everything that had resurfaced from all of these therapy sessions. I was working out, I was doing farm work. It just felt like I was starting to function slowly, bit by bit. And then I had the second round, I guess, of healing sprout. And that was triggered with Reiki. So I met somebody that is a Reiki healer, and we did a few sessions, and then I went traveling for a bit, and then when I came back, we started doing it more actively. And between doing Reiki and me understanding more and becoming more aware of my inner mind and how that works, it was just a beautiful mixture of tools that I was learning to do together. And life just felt easy and easy and easy. And by the time I reached 23, I finally felt like I was living. Like I keep saying it, 23 is the time where like I started living again. And you know why? Because around my 23rd birthday, ever since I was a kid, I knew 23 was a special age. I just always knew 23. And when I was 23, I think a week or 2 weeks later, my granddad died. And I know for some people it can be upsetting if you lose a grandparent, but I didn't experience that. Like for me, that was the biggest gift, because it meant I was finally free. And it meant like I could go home and see my mom and be safe. It meant that I could not have to have all of this mental load whenever this person would message me, and just have all of these memories pop up. And yeah, it was the start of me thriving, the start of me living, the start of also me. It was also like the start of another downfall, because that's when I had to tell my mom, because she was calling me saying, he's dying, you need to call him, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I really don't want to. And I had to tell my brother first, which was heartbreaking for me to have to tell him this. And he amazingly volunteered to tell my mom. And then I had a conversation with my mom, and we've been having conversations since on how this has impacted me, on her role as well in it. And like, if you are listening right now, like, I am focusing on us rebuilding our relationship. But me and my mum did not have the best relationship because I've had to hide a lot of stuff, and a lot of the times I built up resentment towards it because I've asked for, for help. I've asked to see a therapist many of times when I was growing up. I think a lot of the warning signs were there that something really bad was going on. This will be part 2 in the part 2 episode, but to me, it came across as very, very, very obvious that something was up. But then again, it wasn't, because if not, we would have discussed it. So yeah, and it was the beginning of, all right, everybody's going to know now, because then I opened up with my family, and then that was a lot. And then, yeah, and that was another big healing chapter of me discovering how to navigate that and how to rebuild certain relationships. And then I started dating again a bit more healthily when I was in Perth, and I met somebody that I really liked, and I opened up with him, and then he disappeared, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I've done all of this I've done all of this therapy. Why is my dating life not matching up? Like, what's going on? Like, what is it that something clearly is still not there? Like, I'm trying to work on all of these attachment styles and all of these things connected by it. And I was wondering, why am I attracting this sort of energy in men? And it honestly has not been until last year when I was in hospital, and I started fully understanding the repercussions of what I've been putting out there. Like, I think this event has made me think that I don't deserve to be loved, and that I don't deserve to have pleasure. And that, of course, this is going to keep happening, because that's the only thing I know. And I couldn't even picture imagining a healthy relationship, because I didn't know what it looked like. So it's just understanding on such a deeper level that it's not just me healing that specific memory of what had happened. It's me healing every repercussion of how I show up at work, how I dress, how I communicate in a relationship. What do I want? Because so far I've wanted stuff that I thought was best for me, but in reality, it's just what was best for me, my coping stages. For example, highly stressful jobs where I'm barely having a moment for me to think. That's not something that I want. I realized that's something that I always chased and needed, because that's something that would allow me to work, be productive, get my money sorted so then I could travel. But then it would not give me a second to think of anything that was going on. So I spent the past year fully understanding, okay, am I doing this because this is a habit I've picked up as a response to this trauma, or am I doing this because this is what I really want? Am I friends with this person because they keep me stuck in the narrative that I'm struggling? Or am I friends with this person because I see we have a future together and there's a potential there, and they inspire me to become a better person? Like, it's understanding and asking all these questions. Do I eat this food because it makes me feel good, or do I eat this food because I used to like it when I was binge eating as a response to the trauma and to feel safe? So here's how you heal. And this is what I want to talk about in the last few, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes of this episode. I've created in my mind a cycle, a structure. So we can go point by point. You make a list, tick it off, and that way you're aware of what you still need to work on certain memories or certain events, and then it can help you heal. And there's another thing I want to say first. Give yourself the time and give yourself the grace to understand that this is not, the end goal is not to be healed, because you're never going to be 100% healed. There's always something that might pop up. The end goal is to love your present moment and to be comfortable with who you are as a package. Comfortable with your flaws, comfortable with your bruises, comfortable with the best sides of you. And it's understanding that you are right now the best version of yourself, and that you're doing the best that you can. So Yeah, all right. And please give yourself time, because I've tried to rush this so many times. And if I could go back to my 21-year-old self, 22-year self, 23-year-old self, I say, girl, just slow down. Like, you're going to get there eventually. Like, you can't see healing as a to-do list. I know we're going to go for a to-do list, but that's just for you to visually have an idea. But you know, you can't say, okay, I've done 6 sessions, now I'm fine. Like, it's a cycle. And actually, it's a spiral. So I know it feels like you're going around in a circle, but you're never going back to the starting point when you heal. You're always going up one level. So if you start from here, this is how it's going to be. And then you keep going up, you know? So just have hopes. And in the times where it gets worse, this was in Teen Wolf. There's a quote in Teen Wolf that goes, it's regression to the means. No matter how bad or no matter how good it gets, you're always going to get back to neutral. So yeah, no matter how good things are or how bad things are, just keep in mind that it's a spiral. So there'll be times where you think that it's the worst possible, darkest time of your life, but it will get better. And again, it could get a bit worse. But yeah, let's do this healing checklist. So grab your journal and write down 3 blocks. You put physical, mental, spiritual. So let's start with the physical. Ask yourself, am I in physical pain? Am I having physical illnesses? What's the physical response to this trauma? Am I very stiff? Am I not flexible? So ask yourself these questions. On a physical level, what is it that is actually going on with you? Do you have like autoimmune disease? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have like anxiety? Do you have panic attacks? Start writing a list of what physical symptoms do you have. Do you have sleep, like insomnia, vivid dreams? What is it? Second question you should ask yourself, what is it that you can do in the physical aspects? So exercise, we all know how beneficial it is. Do you need to do stretching? Do you need to do dancing classes? Do you need to do boxing classes? What do you need to do in a physical aspect to give yourself those extra happy hormones and to release all of it that you've pent up? If you have gone through sexual traumas, I really recommend doing a mixture of things at different times. At first one, you're going to have a lot of pent up anger inside of you. And it will be, whether you're conscious of it or not, you need somewhere to release it. So doing a high cardio thing, whether it's boxing, running, whether it's swimming, something like really, really, really high in intensity where you can release that. Even if it's short term, that's a great tool. Another one is to start becoming comfortable with your body. And that's a big one in the physical sphere of these 3 categories. Understanding pleasure in your body and also understanding movement. So as we've done with Daniela in the previous episode, like ways to, restore your energy and release it from your hips will be fucked because that's where it goes. And I can guarantee it's 9.5 out of times people that have gone through this, you're going to have like period issues. You're going to have like PCOS and all of these things that, yes, can manifest on a physical level. But a lot of the time is literally just connected to your trauma. And as a response of your body in this particular area being so stressed out. And again, I'm speaking particularly women because that's like I have a woman's body, so I'm just going through what I know and what I've experienced. And hips, so doing exercises of like twerking, shaking your bum, moving your hips, stretching, particularly that, and focusing on these sort of movements will really help you like clear through the energy as you do the mental work. So this is like the physical sphere. I'm going to leave you with these like 3 points, like understand what's wrong, understand what you need, and understand how you need to express it. Like, do I need to learn how to become more sensual? And do you also recommend of going on a physical cleanse from people as well? For me, it really helped to gain more power and owning my body. On a mental note, understand what is going on. Are you depressed? Are you anxious? Are you overthinking? this is where you need talk therapy. I think at least, even if it's like a short session, that it's focused with a goal of clearing the memory, clearing the episode. I think definitely you need some sort of talk. EFT, cognitive behavioral therapy, art therapy, so anything that you have a professional. I don't fully recommend, depends on how dedicated you are. I don't fully recommend you seeing somebody for the rest of your life, like once a month. I don't find that very productive. Like, I think therapy should be goal oriented and focus on that. Unless it's just maintenance, you should have maybe 10 weeks and you do once a fortnight, once every week, and you just commit yourself to doing that. And with the mentor, you just need to understand what's going on in your subconscious. So other exercises you can do, you can start journaling 3 pages a day every morning, just random stream of consciousness thoughts, and just start writing down, like, you can start with today is blah blah, and then just write whatever comes to your mind. Even if your pen is writing, there's a pineapple on this desk, and you write, I don't know what to say. Eventually, by the time you fill the 3 pages in the morning, you will have written down something that you didn't know was there, and your subconscious will communicate a message to you. And you can start from there as well if you can't afford therapy. Like, start journaling to understand, but don't be the one controlling the outcome of what you write, or don't judge what you're writing. It doesn't need to fully make sense yet. It's like writing down what happened in a dream. It doesn't really make sense to you, a lot of the stuff or the details. But when you see it, it's like having a map of your subconscious when it's on paper. And the mentor, and the other one is spiritual. So on the spiritual aspect is your soul. So I call it mind, body, soul. So mind is the mental, body, physical, and soul. So it's important, spiritual. So it's important to rekindle this connection, because I think when some sort of traumas happen, there's some disconnect. So whether it's the mind that leaves the body just for safety and to preserve your stability, and or your body leaves the building and you dissociate. So you have issues like you bump into stuff all the time because you're so mindless, and you forget that you have an actual physical body. And some of you will relate to this. So when on the spiritual side, it's healing your soul. And this for me is the one that I've been prioritizing in the past year. So understand that you're not in your mind and you're in your heart, and learning to reopen up that chakra and learning to reconnect with your body and understanding how that means for you. And ways that you can do it, I've talked about in a few previous episodes, is if you have your intuition or a feeling that says, I need to go to the beach, or I need to lay in this grass right now, or I need to go and smell some flowers, or maybe I should sign up to pottery class. This is where you start to listen to your inner self communicating something that you need, because your inner self will tell you exactly what you need. Like, if you're walking on the street and you think, actually, I need to go down this alley, go down that alley, because you might see there is a cooking class, a cooking school. And maybe you just need to learn how to cook foods and reconnect with all of your senses to become more present in your body. Maybe you have this passion for swimming, and then to heal your soul, you just need to do that. You just need to swim. Or maybe, a big one for me was speaking. I just know that I've had to speak for so long, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I'm here now doing my podcast. And honestly, I love when I book my session here and I come here, like, it feels like I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. Whether you're watching this or not, I know this is what's best for me. And so that's it. On the spiritual side, that's kind of what you need to just learn to listen to your heart. So don't even need to write this down. Like, if one day you wake up and you think, today I'm feeling like I need a papaya, go and eat that papaya, because that's your body saying that you need some sort of, either whether it's for the parasite cleansing, whether it's the vitamins in the papaya or the fiber, something in that papaya is there to help you heal. So just learn how to tune into your inner voice and follow that. And the other one that really helps, which is yoga and meditation and breath work. And I class these as the spiritual ones because they help you connect to like a different frequency. And it's not just, sport. Breath work is a sort of breathing meditation where you focus on oxygenating your whole body. And you can look at Wim Hof on YouTube. There's another guy that I follow. I don't know his name, or they do a lot of just Google breath work and you'll find more information. And that just is, it calms your body so much. I'm not even going to start talking about the physical health benefits of your blood pressure and how it helps in like weight loss and all of those things, and the oxygen going up to your brain. It calms you down so much. Like I think the first session I did with Reiki and I did breathwork as well was the first time in my life I ever felt relaxed. And that's what got me hooked on it, because I just felt like, when anxiety, I don't know if you know, but when anxiety just leaves your body and you're not tense, amazing. Like if this is the testimonial that you need to do any of these woo-woo things that some people call them woo-woo stuff or more spiritual things, honestly do them. Like I cannot recommend breathwork and Reiki enough. And meditation can be a bit hard if you don't know what you're doing. So maybe just start with those. Just go online, look for a Reiki healer in your area, or just say that you want to find one and you'll bump into one on the street somehow. But if this is the testimonial that you need to please go and do it, just do it. Because like even now, I understand relaxation. I understand peace because I felt it physically. So now I fully know when I'm out of, when I'm stressed and anxious, and I don't want that anymore in my body. No way. Like, maybe for 5 minutes or when I'm going on a run, that's it. If I'm so stressed when my gut hurts and everything feels tense, it's not for me. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for joining in today. I hope that you do go through this little checklist and you see what you need, and then you start from there. If you can combine physical, spiritual, mental, mind, body and soul, then I think you've got yourself a great backpack of tools. And then from there, keep following Soul Revival. We'll go more deeply into this, and you're gonna learn a lot more in this journey. This was an interesting episode, and it was a lot lighter to record than the one that I'd done. So thank you so much for tuning in. It will help a lot if you can share to your socials. I post a lot of like clips of the episodes, so it would really help if you would share it on your stories. And if you have any friends that could benefit from this, send them the link. And subscribe, comment down below. I now know how to add the box, so I got this. All right. Thank you so much.